Chapter 1. Pi Kappa House, 9 years before the blackout. The loud thump-thump from the frat house told Tara that the party was already underway. As she neared the front door with her roommate Kim, she was already vibing to the beat. All around them, hipster college students were dancing to the music, making their way to the main living room inside the frat house. "You sure you'll stay off the booze tonight, Kim? I'm really looking forward to chilling tonight. We should enjoy ourselves and have some fun." "Sure thing, T. I have an early class tomorrow, so I don't want to be suffering through it. You know how it is." Tara shot Kim a grateful look that only college outliers understand, and walked through the doors of the house, grabbing the first bottle of alcohol she could lay her hands on. It had been ages since she'd attended one of these parties, and she was only there because she'd overheard a couple of girls talking about it in their dorm rooms. Is this what being in finals means? No more fun? What happened to partying day and night like I did in my first year? Like we all did. So much for being an accounting major. She couldn't help but wonder at the bleakness of her future social life, or lack of one. It's not like she wasn't hot and couldn't get a date. On a scale of 1 to 10, she was a 20. On the contrary, she caught the eye of every guy there, especially the best-looking one, who soon appeared to have felt the urge to approach her and Kim. He had an uninterrupted view of the most beautiful woman at the party. She seemed lost in thought, and he stole as many glances in her direction as he dared to at such close quarters, or as close as he could possibly get without being considered some sort of creep. As far as he could tell, she hadn't noticed him yet, so that was good. But he had to make an impact on her somehow. Calling her beautiful was an understatement, since her physical features, coupled with the affectionate smile she flashed at her friend, made him feel like he was looking at the last beam of light at sunset. She was tall, and the maroon jumper and flat sandals she wore accentuated her figure, showing off her wonderfully toned legs. Her thick, naturally curly hair wasn't tied up, hanging a little below her shoulder line. Casual and pretty. He could have said this girl was underdressed for an event like this, but she was the kind of woman who could wear anything and still look radiant in it. Even a garbage bag would have looked like $1 million on her. Then there was her hair. He was sure he'd never seen hair like hers before, lush and shiny and well-styled. He couldn't remember the last time he'd been so enchanted. Maybe he never had. "Daydreaming at a party?" he suddenly asked. He'd approached Tara from behind, raising his voice to combat the loud music and break her out of her reverie. Tara frowned a little at the intrusion. "What? No, not daydreaming, just lost in my own private thoughts," she scoffed. As Tara's retort trailed off, she turned, looking at the intruder, and she was immediately taken aback. He was quite the eye candy. Tall, caramel-skinned, brooding eyebrows, dark eyes. But what first caught Tara's attention were his full lips with their alluring Cupid's bow curve, now developing into a smile, the kind that reached the eyes. Tara was surprised she could make out so much detail of his features in the dimly lit hallway where she'd stopped to take the first gulps of her beer. "I must have intruded on your thoughts?" He broke the silence. "It's hard to say I'm sorry, though, 'cause who daydreams at a party?" he asked. Kim giggled, and whatever smile Tara was expressing quickly froze on hearing that statement. "I wasn't daydreaming. Already told you. I was having a private thought. Get it? As in private, as in my business, not yours? Surely I'm allowed at least some privacy?" "You're obviously the mean one," he responded. "Now you're calling me names," Tara replied. Apparently, it was right what people said about the good-looking ones. They must be really full of themselves. And obnoxious. She wished she had never acknowledged that rude guy. Turning on her heels, she would have stalked off, except the young man grabbed her arm before she could escape. He had her now by the elbow, his grip firm but somehow gentle enough so she couldn't much object. "Hey, wait, I'm sorry, really, sorry. Giving him a sideways glance, Tara moved, breaking free from his grasp without responding to his apology. He had no choice but to let her go. Tara and Kim painstakingly made their way back to their dorm. As planned, Tara had drunk a lot at the party, and it was obvious in the way she staggered and leaned on Kim for support. She weaved this way and that, stumbling, giggling, finding it difficult to stay on her feet. Her brain knew she was inebriated and tried to tell her to walk straight, but her feet didn't seem to get the message. "It was a great party, except for that weird guy." Oh, you mean the hot one that couldn't keep his eyes off you all night? Kim replied. Hot? He was gross. Did you hear what he said to me? The street was well lit, but generally deserted at that hour of the morning. The only people out and about were a handful of college students like Tara and Kim heading back to their rooms from the same party. Most were already walking ahead of them, some of the girls barefoot from too tight and too high shoes that hurt their feet. He was a nuisance, Tara went on as if she wasn't going to let the matter drop. He thought he could speak to me any way he wanted. I don't know what it is with these frat boys. Well, you certainly keep talking about him. There must have been some sort of attraction, otherwise you'd shut up. Tara feigned offense. I am so not attracted to him. Well, she giggled again. I suppose he was kind of cute, at least to look at, and that body, whoa, to die for, Tara admitted. Thank you, I knew you liked him. Do not. You do so, Kim teased. The voice, a guy's, came from behind them, and both girls, who had thought they were alone on the street, found it more than slightly intimidating. Kim swung around, whipping out the pepper spray from her purse, ready to wreak havoc on any assailant's eyes. Whoa, I'm not here to hurt you. The girls paused, and Tara, despite her drunken state, could just about make out the face of the intruder, who was now holding his hands up as though in surrender. Her heart sank and her stomach flipped. The same young man she'd met at the party. The handsome nuisance. The obnoxious idiot. So, you go about stalking women as well? You really are irritating, aren't you? The young man snickered and held out something in his palm. I'm definitely quite something, but not annoying, as you'll soon have to admit to yourself. Here. She squinted, but couldn't yet make out what it was he was holding out toward her. He urged his hand a little closer. I believe you dropped this when we met earlier, so I assume it's yours, he said softly. You seemed to disappear into thin air right after. I only saw you leaving the party minutes ago and decided to tail you to hand this back. So you owe this stalker an apology. Despite his words, he didn't seem in the slightest bit offended or upset with her. Nestled in his palm was Tara's slim, beaded bracelet, the one that was quite special to her. She hadn't even noticed it was gone, and now, as she reached for it, she was almost ashamed she hadn't noticed because she'd have been tearful if it had been lost for good. Yet, she still couldn't bring herself to be nice to that jerk. Well, if you hadn't gotten on my nerves so much, I would have realized I was missing something, she huffed. She scowled at him, her dirtiest, meanest look, only left in a hurry because of feeling creeped out. That's how you say thank you? He sternly replied. His face showed genuine shock. Now his good humor had dropped, and he looked sincerely crestfallen. He was taking this to heart for some reason. I'm sorry, then, he mumbled, looking away. I guess I'm sorry, that I scared you. He looked upset in a downbeat kind of way. It was as if Tara mattered to him, yet he didn't even know her. He looked as if he was accepting the admonishment of his behavior and was ashamed to have creeped out a girl like that. Kim nudged Tara, giving her a glance that signaled she should at least be nice and appreciate what he'd done for her. But that sad look was probably just a ploy of his. Tara rolled her eyes at Kim and exhaled a loud humph and turned away. Then I guess I should say thank you for returning it. Thank you, Tara eventually said, but she said it begrudgingly. Still, he cheered up a little. I'm sorry again for the way I spoke earlier and for how you say I behaved. I wasn't aware of it, but I am now. Oh, and I'm not a frat boy either. Tara rolled her eyes, the sides of her lips quirking, but this time she let the smile spread fully. That is quite a beautiful smile, he remarked. It was the kind of comment that could potentially freak a woman out even more, but he sounded genuine. She took it to be the compliment it was. Thank you. I'm Mark, he reported. I'm Tara. This is my roomie, Kim. Can we start over, Tara? Mark asked. Well, only because you returned my bracelet. But yes, I guess so. She held out her hand and they shook. Now, what was that you were saying about my body? Something about it being to die for.
How could you get into so much trouble so close to graduation, Tara?
Tara's mom's eyes were filled with concern. Tara knew the news would have been a shock to her. It wasn't like her to be so irresponsible, especially while driving.
Who was driving the car?
Mom asked. Tara clenched her jaw and stayed silent as she lay in the hospital bed, barely lucid after painkillers had been pumped into her body after an emergency surgery to stabilize a bone fracture.
You gave us such a scare, Tara. How could you be so reckless, knowing full well what we've been through with your sister? Surely you haven't forgotten the amount of time we've spent in hospitals, have you?
Tara groaned at Mom's reminder. She certainly didn't need that subject brought up again. How could she possibly forget? And why could Mom just let it go?
It's that boy you've been dating, isn't it? He's to blame. What on earth do you see in him anyway?
Tara's mom fumed, facing her husband.
You have to talk some sense into your daughter. She's destroying her whole future.
Tara paused before replying in a small voice.
He's the only one who understands me, Mom.
It had only been 3 months since they'd started dating, and as Tara lay on the hospital bed, listening to her mom ranting, as well as telling her dad to talk some sense into her, Tara couldn't help but wonder if her mom might be right for once. It was hard to admit it, but sometimes a mom could be right about these things. Mark's drinking hadn't been excessive as far as she'd been able to tell when they'd started dating. Sure, he was a little bit of a truant, and she'd found herself drawn to that irresponsible side of him, occasionally joining him on his joyrides to the city. Things had only started to get worse after he'd had to drop out of school because of tuition debts, but she kind of liked the fact he had a lot more time to spend with her, always attending to her needs, which she'd grown used to. Tara felt so sorry for him, and it wasn't like her parents could ever understand what that must all be like. They'd never had to worry so much about money, and to be honest, she'd even mentioned that and had once hoped they might give her some funds towards his fees so that he didn't have to struggle anymore, but they hadn't. While it wasn't her parents' fault exactly, and it wasn't as if she was married to Mark, they could have helped to make life a bit easier. But from Tara's parents' point of view, the boy drank away his college fund, and so he deserved whatever was coming to him. And it was only through life's lessons that a young man would learn how to make his own way, or so they'd tried to explain to her. So now, Tara lay in pain, her thoughts drifting back to the words Mark had said while driving on the night of the accident.
"Don't you worry, baby,"
Mark called out over the noise of the engine.
"I'll find a way. You just trust that I will. You need to believe in me."
She didn't know he'd stopped over at a bar yet again before picking her up at her dorm that night. She didn't know how the one small beer had grown into a shot and then another beer. She'd suspected his elated mood had something to do with it, but she'd shrugged it off. What's the worst that could happen anyway? We're not driving into the city today, just a short trip.